truly love an atmospheric thriller. I just love them so much. Hi guys, it's April, and I'm gonna do this review the same way I do all of my other reviews. I'm gonna have the non-spoiler section up front, followed by the spoiled-filled dump afterwards. In case you don't want to spoil yourself, I'll let you know when that transition happens. Otherwise, feel free to stay for as long as you would like. I just love the fact that you are here. I will also note that I received an ARC copy of Eventide by Sarah Goodman for a free and honest review, but that in no way has swayed my opinion on this book, but I thought you should know. So Eventide. Eventide is the story of two newly orphaned girls, Verity, who is 17, and her sister Lila, who is 11. After their mother passed, their father started to lose his grasp on reality, which ended up with him in an institution and both girls on an orphan train to Arkansas. Once they arrived, Lila was picked up by a wealthy family, and Verity decides she's going to do anything in her power to stay near her sister. She meets a wonderful couple who decides to hire her in as a farmhand, and while they're in, Verity starts to realize that her family might actually have connections to the area. And that is when the story truly takes off. This story takes place in the early 1900s, and the way it is written, you can definitely feel that. The location itself, the history of the location, and the forest and all the superstitions that surround the area is just perfect for this story. The build-up from the beginning, where you're dealing with Verity and her loss of family, all the way up until the end, where she's starting to put together the pieces of her family and how they're connected to the area, is just fabulously done. I enjoyed every single second of this read, from the beginning to the end. The atmosphere, the build-up, the suspense, the anxiety of this read. Part of the time, you're trying to piece together what is true and what is not, and the whole time you are doubting where you think things are going, and it's just so wonderfully done. I believe this is a debut from Sarah Goodman, if I remember correctly, and if this is the way she's going to continue to write stories, I am here for it, because it was such a moody read, but the way that family is interwoven with this story, from blood family to found family, and how all of that weaves together, I really enjoyed. There were some points in this story where some of the characters, just because of how this story came down, didn't feel fully fleshed out. They didn't have that opportunity. And there was a romance that was sort of built up and then quickly used as a plot device that the love triangle in this one, it felt extremely forced. And I get why it was done, because it did add to some of the anxiety of the story and the control of the story. It's just those two pieces were what, I'm like, did we really have to go that far? But once you add it into the whole story, I just enjoyed it so much. It is a great thriller. I enjoyed it. I loved just seeing it all come together, and it's one of those reads that I could not put down. I kept on finding an excuse to read more and more, and here we are right now. So do I recommend this read? Yes, I do. Do I want to see more from this author? Yes, I do. And this is a point in which I'm going to switch over into some more spoiled-filled thoughts on everything that I just read, because I need to get words out. So if you don't want to spoil yourself, you want to go read this book, I would love to know, and of course, come back and we'll start a conversation. Otherwise, here we go. What I loved most about this book was the setting, and the forest, and the well, and the magic, and how it all seemed to come together in this almost gothic type story, and how it just all kind of kept on feeding on Verity's anxiety and her wondering if the madness that her father fell into was genetic or not, because you start to get this feel of there's a huge possibility that everything she is seeing is all in her head. And I know a lot of thrillers like to play with that kind of trope, but I think this book does it extremely well, because you start doubting which direction this story is going to take. And there's so many moments where Verity thinks that she's almost home, she's almost free of everything that's going on, when she calls the orphan, the orphan lady. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. And she's believed, and then all of a sudden it just escalates and it's even worse than before. And it's just, I like how it was done and how the magic was woven into the story with Maeve and how she's pulling all of these strings, and how both of these characters, Verity and Maeve, are exactly the same. They both want control. They're trying to find control and they're fighting each other for it. And it's just, I don't know, there was just something about the way it was built up, and you just feel this anxiety for Verity, and you feel this kinship, and you feel the hope that she finds, and then the devastation that she's constantly falling into. And while I'm questioning a little bit about how nicely things got wrapped up, about the fact that she keeps coming back each day, I question whether or not she would keep aging and how that would affect her relationship with Abel. That's a little piece of the story that I almost question, because I almost want it to be a little bit more bittersweet than it was. Like, yes, she died, but because of the keeping and the well, she's constantly coming back. But would she be aging? That is a question. And that is the question I'm going to leave you guys with. That is the biggest question I have in all of this, is whether or not she would really actually age with Abel and she'd have that ability. But that is all of my thoughts on this read. I highly recommend that you read it, and I'm assuming that if you've gotten this far that you have, and you have words to say to me down in the description. I would absolutely love that. Otherwise, if you would like to see more content like this, subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things to get all of the notification, and of course, I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.